I was going to talk with you guys about the different tube options and what samples are required for each tube. So we have our purple top tubes, which are our EDTA tubes that do contain the EDTA anticoagulant. So this tube is for your CBC, in-house CBCs, or if we're sending out to Idex or a different lab, we're going to choose our larger purple top tube to send out to them. The green top tubes are Pepperonized tubes. These run our epochs. When you spin them down, they spin down to serum or plasma that we use for the chemistry panels, along with the electrolytes, chemistries, comprehensive panels for lithium heparin is what these contain. Electrolytes, comprehensives, chemistry panels. We have three different sizes in this. We have a large and a small. So this holds obviously a larger sample. This can hold 3 mils, and these usually hold about 1 mil to half a mil. And then this larger green top tube for about 1.5 mils. We also have our Serum Separator tube, otherwise known as a tiger top tube. These do have a serum separator portion in the bottom of the tube that allows the blood to clot, and these get spun down to obtain a serum sample.
Now, would you normally use those in-house, or are those reserved primarily for send-out?
These are primarily for send-out. We can use these in-house to spin down to obtain a serum sample as well, but usually these do get sent out to the lab.
And do you always spin them and then pull the serum off and put them in a separate send-off tube?
Yes. So when we're sending out to a lab, we do spin down the sample that's in the serum separator, and we pull that sample off, so your serum, and place it into a non-additive white top tube to send out to the lab. All right, this is our larger centrifuge. So this spins our larger tubes here. So these are the ones that we do send out usually to the labs when we draw the larger samples. These tubes hold about 3.5 mils, so we like to fill it up at least 2 mils of blood, if not more. So a minimum of about 2 mils to get an adequate amount of serum. So this kind of works in the same way as our smaller one. So we have several spots to put tubes, and we'll counterbalance, so meaning straight across from each other to counterbalance the machine. Our counterbalance tubes do live in this drawer, so this drawer is right below our centrifuge. We have several different options here for counterbalances that you can uncap and add or take away as much water as you need to properly balance your sample. If there's not a tube in here that you need, or don't see that one that you need, you can always just grab one from the drawer over here. We have several tubes that you can grab. We have the small tubes for the Heskin machines, and to balance in here as well. So we have our samples in there, and these little ones here run our small hematocrit tubes to run PCBs that you also counterbalance on each side. Right here. So once you have your samples and your counterbalance placed in your machine, there's a lid here that we close and lock. Once it's locked, it does have a light here that says we're green and we're ready to be spun, and you'll hit the run button here. The time is also important. So for hematocrit tubes, we usually run for about 5 to 6 minutes. Larger tubes with more sample, we bump it up to about 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes usually, and then you just hit run. Okay, yes, we do have the option to change our speed, but usually the RPMs, we usually leave it at about 35, so you shouldn't have to worry about that unless you walk up and it's not that number. This machine will count down and turn off by itself, so you'll need to remember to come back, open your lid and get your sample out, and then you'll at that point transfer your serum to a white top tube. Since this does take about 8 to 10 minutes, you'll probably be walking away to do other tasks. So once you close your lid, it's always a good idea to put the patient's name on a post-it note of who your patient is, and make sure your serum separator tube is labeled correctly with the patient's name. That way if somebody were to walk up and need the machine, they know whose sample is in there. Okay, our sample is all done, so we've opened it up here. Our sample will be in this one. So what we're going to do is just dump this out, and you can see that our serum has separated, so it's the clear liquid separated from the blood, or the red blood cells, sorry. So to transfer this to the appropriate tube for the lab, we're going to grab one of our non-additive white top tubes. So what we'll do is uncap our sample and our white top tube, and then we're just going to simply pour your serum into the white top. And then we're going to, that will just be garbage now, and then this is our sample, and we'll want to appropriately label with patient name, first and last name on our tube for the lab.
And just transfer this information.
Okay, so we've got our sample here, and we'll just make sure our name on our sample matches our name on our requisition form here. And we'll simply just place this in the bag with the rest of the sample for the test that was ordered. And this will go straight into the refrigerator. This is our Idex Refrigerator for samples to be picked up by the courier. We do have a specific basket that the Idex samples live in, so definitely make sure you're placing it in the correct box. It's super important, or the lab will miss picking up the samples.